Okay, now it's recording. Any question on what we've done so far? Now, I want you to note that I'm actually building a back end. So building a back end means I'll be adding things to it small, until it becomes a complete back end. So some things that I have done, I may not go back to do them again. I will do new things. I'll keep adding and adding and adding. Like I said, the back end, you cannot complete it in 1 day or in 3 days. Even if it's 5 days, you may not be able to finish it in 5 days. So I'll keep adding and adding and adding and adding. If there is anything we've done in the past, please pay attention to them because we may not repeat them. For example, setting up the server. We may not do that again. Setting up a script. We may not do that again. Making sure that we add a middleware. We may not do that again. Setting up .env file. We may not do that. And also how to make requests. So I think I've mentioned up to 5, but for what we've done so far, if you are still following, then there is only one thing that is left, connecting to databases, and that is what we want to treat today. So I have only 12% in attendance. I don't know why. I want to believe those who are not here, it is because they already know some of it. They know it, they have an idea. That's why they are not here, because I don't know why. We are going to be starting 10 minutes late, and somebody is not here. I want to believe so. So, but let's just questions. Ask your question. If you have any question, now is the right time to ask your question. Okay, if there are no question and you want us to continue, please drop a thumbs up so that I know to continue. If we can continue from where we stopped, please drop a thumbs up so that we continue from there. Thumbs up. Really? Okay. Only one person. All right. And I want to believe others are following. Please follow. Okay. When we talk about databases, I will open up my browser now. There are different types of databases to use, and all of them have their advantages and disadvantages. They not like disadvantages, but they all have their uniqueness, how you can use them. So, for example, there are relational databases and there are non-relational databases. So when I say relational databases, for example, if I ask you to write the name of everybody in this class, what you will do will be to get a piece of paper and draw a table with columns and rows. You write number 1, you write the person's name, you write number 2, you write the person's name. Now all of those informations are on the same sheet of paper, on the same page. So you draw a table on the same page. Now any database that you have to save data in rows and columns is called a relational databases. A relational database, or they call it a SQL databases. So relational means it saves data in tables and in rows. So tables and rows. But there's a database that don't require tables and rows. For example, if I say write the name of everybody in this class, you buy maybe 40 leaves. 40 leaves. The first page, you write the first person's name. You move to the second page, you write the second person's name. You move to the next page, you write the other person's name. You move to the next page. write the next person's name. So meaning that each page contain information about one particular person, not everybody. And you're not drawing tables, you're not drawing rows, you're just using the whole page. Can I remove node modules from this list? Have you been able to push? Did you push this, or you are yet to? If you are yet to push it, just add node modules to git ignore. That's it. Just add where's my file? Add node modules to git ignore like this, and that should ignore it when pushing. Yeah, just add node modules to git ignore, and that, I think if you've already added it, you can actually do rf minus rf to remove it, or you start all over with your changes, git add dot git commit, and but the easiest way is just to add it here, and that should take care of it. But you can remove it with minus rf, and so minus rf and then put the name node modules to then take it off. But you can actually check that online. Minus rf node modules. Okay. Ignore. I'm looking for the easiest. Nobody's writing that. Remove node modules from git commit. From git commit. Yeah. Okay. Git remove. I don't trust you. Let's try this one. Well, just add git ignore. It may not. These ones may or may not remove it. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. RF should be able to remove it. So you can run this, but they're not giving what you want. But why would you add git what's it called? So try using this. That should, if that's possible, try using it. But I know if you add it to git ignore, git is going to ignore it. And then you commit again. That should take care of it. Yes, you ignore it when pushing to your repository. You ignore it. You're not supposed to push the node modules to GitHub. GitHub will not even allow you to do that because the node modules are very large files and you don't have that much memory to use. So that should do it. I need to take care of it. All right, I was explaining databases. So I said there is another type of database where you use one page for one user's information. Then if you want to write the information of another user, you move to another page, just like that. Now all of them put together. Now each page is called a document. Each page is called a document. Now put all the documents together, it becomes a collection. So a database that saves data with documents is a non-relational database, or maybe non-SQL. So when you use non-SQL or non-relational, it means it saves data in documents and in collection of documents. So, but relational databases save data in tables and rows. No voice. Are you serious? Can you hear? Yes, I am. Can anyone hear me? Hello, can you hear me? All right, thank you. So, an example of non-relational database is MongoDB. MongoDB. Now, you can use any database that you want, but we like using MongoDB because with MongoDB, you can build a small project. When you start the project small, you can also scale that project to become bigger. Unlike MySQL, when you start the project with MySQL, the database structure, whatever you had when you started, is not that scalable again. So, but MySQL is very good. I also use it for some projects, but majority of the times, those of us who use Node.js, we prefer using MongoDB because at times we can be building full stack and you want to scale the project from small to big. Then we go with MongoDB. But there are other databases. There's Postgres, who can also do that. But Postgres is a little advanced, used by companies. But the whole idea is once you understand how to use databases, you can use any database that you are asked to use. So not because sometimes I see this issue of, you know what, let me check for what will I look for? What is the name of that website? Well Found. This is Well Found. I'll open Well Found, and I'll also open LinkedIn. So I want to open sites where you can actually search for jobs, and I just hope I remember I'm logging details here. So back, and let me say Node.js developer, or maybe say hiring, for example, hiring Node.js developer. Okay, so I am hiring, know anyone who might be interested. I think this is 3 days ago. Now you can actually filter it by days, but that's not what I want to do. I want to check out the job descriptions. That's what I want to check out. So I'm not filtering for now. I don't want to open there. I was hoping Node.js. I was hoping to see the job descriptions. So for Node.js. Now, sometimes they will add the job descriptions. Yeah, for example, here. So you have building REST APIs. So some of them might be detailed, some of them may not be detailed, and if you see whatever says REST APIs, that's what we are building. We are building RESTful APIs. So that is what we're actually building. Yeah, so here now, this person is requesting for MySQL databases, but this is actually for Node.js. So just because you learned with Node.js, NodeMon, sorry, what's going on today? Just because you learned with MongoDB doesn't mean you can't take up a job if it is MySQL they are asking for. So, but a lot of times they don't ask you, they don't tell you the databases to use. Yeah, this one now, they are not saying the database. Okay, here they are saying use a MongoDB like this. So, but most times they will not tell you the database to use, but in other cases, they will tell you the database to use. Let me check this one. I think while we're still going, I think that's the end. I've reached. I want to find more. No, I think that's enough for that one. Continue. So I'm also going to show, if there's time, I'll show you how to. Okay, this is a senior back-end developer. What is the job description? Okay, this is for Ruby and Rails. Well, you can also, and then the front end is, yeah. But here the database they're asking for is Postgres. So your own, what you need to do is learn one first with me. And then depending on the job you are taking on, you can decide maybe to learn the database they are using, or you recommend the database you know how to use, like that. So learning with one database doesn't make you will not make you, or shouldn't make you not to apply for jobs that are asking you to use a different type of databases. So this is MongoDB, and there are three ways to use MongoDB. The first way is there are people who prefer to interact with their database from the terminal. The terminal, I mean, from this area. They use this to interact with their databases. So MongoDB allows you to do that, but that part is called the MongoDB shell. So you can actually, I think the shell should be here. So that is MongoDB shell. It allows you to have MongoDB shell. Now the second one is you can actually download this MongoDB to your laptop and or maybe to your computer, and you are using the database locally on your computer. And that is called the MongoDB Compass. So you, whatever data you are working with on that particular project, everything, all the information are stored locally on your computer. When you are done building the project, if you want to use that same data or maybe that same database, you deploy the database online. So that is the second way of using the database. Now the third way of using this is the Atlas, the database that has already been deployed online. It has been deployed and is managed online. So all you need to do is connect your application to that database online. If you want to be renewing subscription, you can go ahead, but it actually starts with free. So it's free for the first, give you some storage for free. Now, as your project begins to scale, you have to pay for subscription. So these are the three ways to use MongoDB. You can use it on the shell, you can use it locally by downloading it, or you can actually use the one that has already been deployed. Now, I'm going to work with the one that has already, I'm going to work with the one that has already been deployed. The reason is so that we get the feel of how it will work when users are trying to use our platform. So that is why I'm going with the one that is already been deployed. So that means you need to have internet to be able to connect to your database online. But if you want to, you can also download and store on your system. But this has a special way of setting it up, because you are going to run this first. The way you are running your server here, that's how you will run the database to start it, and then you start monitoring when you are saving data to it. So that's the two ways. Now I'll click on Atlas, and I want to believe you know what Atlas is now. Atlas is a MongoDB database that has already been deployed. So that is what we want to use. And MongoDB, like I said, is a non-relational database, which means it saves data in documents and collections. So not tables and rows. It's SQL or relational databases that store data in tables and rows. So that being said, the first thing you want to do is to log in. And you can sign in for free, whatever, so long as you have a Google account, you can sign in for free. If you're also working for a company or maybe a project, you create the email for a company and then sign them up on MongoDB, or maybe use your own account to build it first. Now, when you are done building it, then you present it to them that they need to sign up on MongoDB. That is if you want to use MongoDB Atlas. So I'll log in with one of my accounts, any Gmail account will be fine. So let me go with this. Which one? Let me go with this one. So that's the first thing. You need to sign in to MongoDB with your email. Okay. So while it is signing in, to use a database or to be a database or to work with a database, there are 3 things you must do. Just 3 things. Now, we're not talking about database administrators. Now, database administrators are different. People who can come into the database, change data, export data, do whatever they want to do. Now, you as a software developer, you can do that. If you want to, you can. You can administer the whole database however you want. But that is not your role here. Your role, your job is to write codes. So, codes that will take data and save them to the database, codes that will fetch data from the databases. But you can do anything on the database if you want, but that's the job of a database administrator, and you also can do that if you want. So the first thing you want to do is to create a new project. You are going to be creating a new project. Now, I have so many projects here that I have created. These are dummy projects. So you create a new project. Now, the first time you are logging in, it will not bring you to that dashboard. The first time you are logging in, it will bring you here. You will come here to create a project. That is, if you have not created a project before, it will bring you here. But if you have created, it will bring you to your dashboard. So I want to give the project a name. I will call it cohort 2. And that is all I want to do, the name, and then I'll click on next. Add members, so this, I am the project owner, and I will click on create project. When you create project, you want to then set up the database. It is pretty easy to use, but as I'm doing it, if you have any question, please go ahead and ask. So it's going to ask me to set up database. Now this is showing here because I already have databases with this account. So that is why it's always showing this dashboard. But for you, it will not show this dashboard until you create a cluster. And like I said, it saves data in document, and all of those documents put together is what we call the cluster. So all of those databases put together is what we call a cluster. So you must create a cluster. A cluster is like a group of your databases that you're going to be using. If it's only one database you will use, you will still need a cluster. If you're going to be building 2 different projects or 2 different databases, you still need a cluster. All of them put together is what we call cluster. So the first thing you want to do is to create a cluster. I will click on create a cluster. It will ask me, do I want to use AWS? Do I want to use Google Cloud? Or do I want to use Azure as my provider? Do I want to use any region? And what informations do I need? Now, make sure that you are picking the free one here. If you want to pay for it, you can go ahead and pay for it, but make sure you're using the free one. So click here to select the free version, and all of these details you can leave them as default. All of them. The country you pick does not really matter. There is no Nigeria here, so it doesn't really matter which country you pick as your region. And to run your cloud, your database cloud, it doesn't really matter. You can keep everything default. Whether AWS, whether Google Cloud or Azure, all of them work fine. They all work fine. You can use anyone you want. Okay, please, if you have a question, use this question and answer so that I know you are. If you send me a private message right now, I may not reply to you. Okay, so like I said, you can keep default. If you want to change the name, maybe to the name of your project, if you are building a school website, if you are building any site, anything you are building, and you want to use the name for your cluster, you can go ahead and change the name for your cluster. Maybe Maybe what am I even building? I don't even know the name to use. Let me just use cohort 2. So you can give it any name. Your cluster, you can give it any name. Leave it default, Paris, so on and so forth. All you need to do is just deploy your database. That's all. Deploy. Create it and deploy it. So I'll click on create and deploy. And it will be deploying the database or the cluster rather. But like I said, make sure it is free. So that is the time it will bring you to this dashboard. And here, the reason why it is showing this now is asking me to connect to this database that I have created. It's asking me to connect to the database that I have created. Now, but in order to connect, there are two things it says I have to do. Number one, I need to set a connection IP address. That's one. Number two, I need to create a database admin. Somebody who will be administering this database. So here I can use this if I want. All of this if I want. Now, if you want to do it here, you can. It is telling me that my current IP is this. So you can if you want, but I don't want to do it here. I want you to get used to it so that if you don't see this modal, you also know where to find it. So like I said, before you are able to connect to this database, there are two things you need to set. The network access, which is the IP address, and then the database access, which is the database admin. So you need to set up two things. The person who is going to be administering this database and the person who is going to, the network IP. The reason why you're going to be doing this, let me explain. I will explain. If you want your users to perform anything on their mobile app, now you know that the users, they don't have account on your database. So because users don't have account on your database, naturally, they won't be able to make any request that will go direct to your database. They will not. But as a person who's building the back end, what you will do, number one, is say, set the IP address. You will set the IP address to allow access from anywhere. Because if you set it to be your current IP address, it means you are the only person that is going to be using that software. No other person will use it. But if you set it to allow access from anywhere, that means you are opening it up that your users, wherever they are, they can actually make requests, perform a task on the software, and it will relate to the database from anywhere. So the first thing you want to do is make sure that your IP address is set to allow access from anywhere. Now, if you want to add any other IP address, that's your concern. But most importantly, allow access from anywhere. Now, this does not mean that people will hack you. No. This doesn't mean that no, it doesn't. It just means that people can create account from anywhere. People can log in from anywhere, and all of these requests are going to be communicating with your database from anywhere. So I will click allow from anywhere, and that means 00000 is my IP address, and then I click confirm. So that's the first thing. Until it shows active, it is not active. So you need to see it set as active. The second thing is you need to create a user. Now, this user doesn't mean that you are going to be creating an account for all your users. No. What it means is that you are going to create one admin account. That admin account, you will attach it to your backend. Anybody who's making requests, you will tell your backend to use that admin account. So that means that your users are going to be using that admin account by proxy. So they'll be making requests to your database, and the database will not let them. But because they are using that login details or the password and username you created as an admin, the database will allow them. I don't know if that makes sense. If it makes sense, just drop thumbs up. If what I just said about the database user and the users making requests, if it makes sense to you, please drop a thumbs up so that I know. If it doesn't, drop thumbs down so that I can say it again. Really? Which part? Okay, let's go. The database user. So I will click here to create a new database user here. Now it is asking me to put in my username and password that I want. So I will write cohort 2. Please remind me. I want to pick a database username that I will always remember. Please remind me what this username or this password is. Cohort. Should I use cohort or should I use utribe? Something I will always cohort. Let me use cohort. And the password is E123456. So show the password. So this is what I want to use. It's a dummy database, so you can actually see the password. For now, it's not doing anything. And I am going to set the role to have read and write access. I am going to set the role to have read and write access. How would you say my voice is slow? What is going on? Can you all hear me? I think you should hear me. My volume is too high and you should be able to hear me. All right, let's continue. So after the IP address, the next thing you want to do is to create an account. You create a username and you create a password. And you set it that it needs to have read and write access. What does this mean? This means that anybody that is creating an account on your platform or doing anything on your platform, they can do it on the platform. But if that request they are making requires them to access the database, they don't have password to your database, so they will be using this database access by proxy, meaning you are going to take this information and store it in your environmental variables and then tell your backend anytime you need to communicate to the database, use this database information. I don't know if that makes sense. So that should make sense. I will come down and click on add user. So with these two things done, you should be able to communicate or connect to any of your databases. So what I want to do is cohort is the username, E123456 is the password. Please just remind me that. So I will click on cluster here. And if I click on cluster, it's going to ask me a few things. I want to click on connect because that is what I want to do. I want to connect my application to this database. I will click on connect here. Now it's asking me, how do you want to connect? Do you want to connect to the shell? Do you want to connect to Compass? Or do you want to connect with drivers? So I will say this first one. The reason why I'm picking this one is because it allows Node.js here. So I'm using a connection string that will connect to my Node.js application. So I will click on it. And you can either choose to install MongoDB if you want, but that's not what I want to do. I want to use this connection string to connect to it. So I will copy this connection string. I'll copy it and then come back to my application, which is this. This is not supposed to be anywhere but in your .env file. That is where it should be. So I will remove this. And I'll say the name of this variable is called MongoDB_URL. like this. So this is the URL I copied. This is the URL I will be using to connect to that database. Now, in this URL, this first part here is my username. And here it's asking me to put the password like that. Why are you lost? You should be watching the screen now and seeing what I'm doing. I'll repeat this again. Really, the goal of what we're doing is there are two things I said you should do. First, you click on database access to create a database user. Just click add new user. You set the username here. You set the password here. You give it a role. The role should be read and write, and then you click add user. That's all. You're not doing any other thing. Put the username, put the password, give it a role, and then you come down and click add user. The second thing is the network access. You add your access to allow connection from anywhere, which is going to be this 000. So this is where you click on add IP address. Now, because I've added that one, that is why it's no longer showing here. So you add it, allow IP address from anywhere. Once you do that, the next thing is to copy the connection string. Click on connect here. So if you click on connect, it's going to ask you, do you want to connect to Node.js and Go and so on and so forth. So this is the one I want to use. I will click on it. Now, it doesn't mean you can't connect to MongoDB, Compass, Shell, and so on, but this is the one we're interested in. I'll click on it, and there are two ways to connect here. Either you connect with the driver, or you connect with the connection string. And the connection string is what I need, which is this. I will click here to copy all of this. So that is what I did. I'll copy it and then come back to my code and paste it here. I'll write the name of the variable to be MongoDB underscore URL and then paste it. So this is the connection string I copied from MongoDB. Here is my username, and here it's asking me to put my DB password, the password you created. So with this connection string, you should be able to connect directly to your database. And anybody who is making requests to your application will also be making direct to your database. For example, let's do that. I'll come here and change it to 1E12345. I think that is the password, and save. So right now, this connection string is ready to connect. So this is one way, or maybe I say this is the easiest way to connect to MongoDB databases. But there are other ways if you want to. You can break these things down into different parts if you want, or you can also use the driver, the MongoDB npm install MongoDB driver. You can do that if you want. But the easiest way is to use the connection string. Add this username and add the password. Now, it is very important that you create a username and a password. So any question on how to get this connection string? Any question? Now, I understand it might be difficult, but it's actually easy if you pay attention to it. So any question on how to get the connection string? No question? Really? If there's no question, then drop a thumbs up so that we can continue. Drop thumbs up so that we can continue and see how this is going to connect to the database. All right. Okay, so now we have our MongoDB, and I want it to connect to my database. To connect to MongoDB database, we need a package. And that package, we call it Mongoose. So I will come here and type Mongoose. Mongoose. So Mongoose is a MongoDB package that we can use to connect to MongoDB. Now, it is called ODM for modeling MongoDB databases. So I will say there are two things it does, which very, very important. There are two things Mongoose does. The first one is to allow us connect to the database. The second one is to create a format with which we want our data to be saved. So these are the two things Mongoose does, but let's do the first one, to connect to the database. Now, how do you install MongoDB or Mongoose? You say npm install Mongoose. And like I said, Mongoose, we need Mongoose for two reasons. One, to connect to the database. Two, to set the format which we want to save our data. So I will copy this and come here and paste it in. So this is npm install Mongoose, and I'll hit enter. Now it is installing Mongoose. To confirm that it's installing Mongoose, you go to your package.json file. Now I have errors, and what is my error? It says cannot access. Okay, your cache folder contains root own files, blah 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 blah. Let me try installing it with this terminal. I don't want to enter my password. It's asking me to enter password to install something. Okay, so let me try sudo paste, hit enter. So now it's not going to ask you for password on your own laptop except you set password on your own laptop. Now the reason why it's asking me for password is because I set password on my laptop. If I check my package.json file, I have Mongoose installed here. So I have Mongoose installed here. Now, how do we connect to Mongoose? Now, it says the first thing you want to do is bring in Mongoose here. When you bring it in, and then you say mongoose.connect, you pass in the connection string, and that is all. When it is connected, you can handle the promise to console log a function for you, telling you that Mongoose has connected. So this is the three line it's giving us. You bring in Mongoose, and then you call mongoose.connect. You pass in the connection string that you want to connect to, and then you can handle the promise with .then to console log that it has connected. So let's do that. The first thing I want to do is to bring in Mongoose. I'll say const Mongoose is equal to require Mongoose. That's the first step. The second step I want to take is to call mongoose.connect. Mongoose.connect. Now I need to pass in that connection string, this thing. I can copy it like this directly and paste it here if I want. I can do that directly, copy it and paste in here, and it will connect. So to handle the promise, I will say .then when you connect, I want you to run a function that is going to console log for me MongoDB connected, like this, and save it. So this is like three lines. The first line is to bring in Mongoose. The second line is to call mongoose.connect and pass in the connection string. The third line is to handle the promise that when it connects, you want to console log MongoDB connected or anything. So I will run this server again, npm dev. Okay, npm run dev. Yeah, server connected. So the thing is, it took a while to connect. So if I cancel with Control C, I run it again, npm run dev, hit enter. You see that server has started running, and then after a while, MongoDB connected. So that is how to connect to MongoDB. But you don't need to add this connection string here. No, you don't need it here. So what I would do is to add the variable here and say this should be coming from backticks, $, curly braces. It should be coming from the process environment. Process.env. The name is MongoDB URL. So that is what I want to paste it. So I will save it again, and it's going to connect, and it's connected again. So the reason why you do this is so that people are not going to see your username and your password. They are not supposed to see the whole of this connection string actually. They shouldn't see this. Otherwise, they will have access to all the data on that database. So that is why I connected using environmental variable. So do you have any question on how to connect MongoDB? Any question on how to connect MongoDB? Are you serious? No question. So that means you understood all of these things. Really? If you understood it, please drop a thumbs up so that we continue then. If you understood it, drop a thumbs up so that we continue. Cynthia, are you here? Who again? Victoria, you are here? Really? Karim, you're really? Okay, okay then, okay. Where is Wisdom? Is Wisdom on this call? Wisdom, you understand this? Okay. Who again? Thomas. Bisola. Okay. Okay. I understand. I understand. It's normal. You may not be. There's one thing I learned with coding. I learned it the hard way. This idea of if I have not seen it work on my laptop, then I don't know how to do it. I'm going to share an experience with you. When I started learning coding, it's actually some YouTube videos. They did that to me. When I follow YouTube videos, they will do the same thing on their laptop. When they do it, if I do the same exact thing on my own laptop, I'll be having errors. So because of that, I began to doubt any tutorial I see online. I begin to doubt it. Like, I don't trust whatever you do until I do it on my own laptop. Then I will say I know how to do it. Now, if I don't do it, I will say I don't know how to do it. So, but as I started growing in tech, I realized that I don't need to do it on my laptop. As a matter of fact, I had one student from Abuja then. He said he's going to pay me money. What he wants me to do is to start building a software from scratch to finish. He will just be watching. So I discovered that I don't need to do it on my own laptop. All I need to do is watch you do it. And if you do it, I need to have that your own code base. That same code that ran that, I want to have that code. So there are a lot of things I know how to do. I didn't actually do them on my laptop, though. And most times when I'm working on a project, there are some phenomena, some things I learn new, or new things I will learn. I haven't tried it out. I just do it in the project and it will work, because I don't need to do it to see that it's working. I want to see you do it, and I have access to that your code base. And as a matter of fact, I don't even need to do much with your code base. Let me see your code base, and I know what to do, like that. So if you're like me, that you are seeing what I'm doing, but because you haven't done it on your own laptop, you feel like, oh, I don't know it. No, you're wasting time. All I'm doing for you here is I am building a back end step by step. You are watching how it will be done. At this point, you shouldn't expect it to be easy. No, it's not going to be easy, because at this point we are building the real back end. If it's going to be easy like other of our classes, then it would just walk over for anybody, and our numbers will not just be 20. As a matter of fact, backend is the smallest class so far. It has always been the smallest class, even though some people don't know that it's not that difficult, but that's always been the small class. So what I am doing, if it's easy for you, that means I'm not doing it well, because if I'm doing it well, it will not be easy. We are building the real backend, the exact same way you are going to be doing it if you are in any company, which is why I'm saying whatever I'm doing, I will share the codes with you. Make sure that at least you can read line by line. Now, if you're yet to do it on your own laptop, no problem, don't worry. But just understand it on my own laptop. You are seeing it line by line. I will share the codes with you. You go through the codes and you know what each line is doing. That's the most important thing. Now, to grow, you should be able to read codes line by line. Whether you run it, whether you don't run it, it doesn't really matter. You should be able to read it line by line and know what it is doing. That is how you will grow. So at this point, we are building backend. We are not learning backend. We are building the backend. So, but while we are building it, I'll be teaching the concept one by one. So that is what we are doing. Now, if it's difficult, of course, I understand it will be difficult, but you need to pay extra attention, because we are into the real deal. When I'm done with this back end, it means I've actually done with my own part. The next part will be your own part to build your own back end, like that. So I understand if it's a little bit difficult, but you should also expect it to be a little. I'm not saying it's going to be difficult, but you shouldn't expect it to be easy. It's the back end, it's the real back end, it's the real thing. So you shouldn't expect it to be easy. Okay, so like I said, if I just run through one or two things again, the first thing you want to do is to create a cluster. Of course, you are going to do that the first time you log in, and it's very easy. So the second thing you want to do is set a network access, add an IP address to allow connection from anywhere. That is the most important thing. The second thing is to create a user, add a user, put the username, put the password, and then add a role. You can either add Atlas admin, you can add this, but it shouldn't be only read. No, it should be read and write, or you add it as admin, however you want, but at least this one, and then you create the user. So that's the two things. If you do that, the next thing is to connect to your database. You click on connect. So here you see database. It used to be called database before, but they've changed it to cluster. So this is a new update. So if you see database here, it's fine. If you see cluster here, it's fine. You click on it and then click on connect. What are you looking for? You're looking for the connection string to connect with Node.js. You click on it and then you copy the connection string. Remember the username and the password you created, because it's important. So you copy it, When you copy it, you come back to your .env. Now this name is a variable name. You can call it anything. As a matter of fact, some people call it URI. Some people call it URI. Some people call it URL. Anyone you want. You call it. Then you paste your URL here. Make sure to add the username and the password. Make sure to add the username and the password. So when you do this, you are done with the connection string. The next thing you want to do is to install Mongoose. You want to install Mongoose. So you install Mongoose with npm install Mongoose, and then you bring in Mongoose like this, and then you call mongoose.connect. If Mongoose connecting, you add the connection string. Now this is me adding the connection string as an environmental variable. You are not supposed to paste the URL here, but this is expecting a URL. But I'm just adding this process.env.mongodb URL here. So when you add it, you handle the promise that will be returned. So when it's connected, then it should console log for you MongoDB connected. And that is all. That is also, if you run your terminal, you should see MongoDB connected. Simple and short. Yes, water, simple and short. Now it's something you do only once. So it's not like you'll be connecting to database every day. No, you connect to database once and then you move on to other things. That's how you build the backend. You're adding one small. Before you know it, you have a robust backend. Any questions so far? Any question? Yes, the reason why I use sudo is because sudo is for Mac. The operating system I'm using is Mac. So it's asking me to enter the password. Now, you can't install anything on my laptop if you don't know the laptop password. So that is why I had to use sudo as the admin. So, but you don't need it. You don't need it. So sudo means I want to install it as an admin of my laptop. It has nothing to do with Mongoose. It is just for my own laptop. And to install Mongoose, all you need to do is type in npm install Mongoose. That is all. That's all you need to install anything. Any other question? So we move on to this next thing. Yes. Now, async, no, it is not only for async functions. No, you don't use .then for only async function. Now, let me explain this thing. When you say mongoose.connect, watch my terminal. I will cancel this and run it again. Hit enter. Notice it started connecting. After a few minutes or seconds rather, then MongoDB has connected. So what is an async function? Or maybe what an async function is a function that you know will take a while to conclude. So because it is going to take you a while, you tell that function specifically, I want you to run on the background without stopping anything else. Now notice that this server connected here is actually down here. It's down. Whereas this one that is here, MongoDB connected, is up. So ideally, which one should happen first? This is supposed to happen first. Ideally, but no, we saw the database started first before this connected. So that means that this .connect is an async function. That's what it means. It is not blocking any other file. It is allowing the whole code base to run from top to bottom. But whenever it is completed, it will then come and run this. So that is what an async function is. Now you can deliberately add this as a function. I don't want to confuse you by adding it as a function and then making it adding so many things. No, I wanted to keep it simple like this so that you see clearly what is needed. But you can add it as a function. As a matter of fact, that's what most people do. They will come here and create a new file and call it db.js, meaning it is a database. So they'll come here and say const mongoose. Sorry, that should be mongoose. Mongoose is equal to require mongoose. And then inside here, they will write a function, say const connect db is equal to an async function. What would async function do? It will call mongoose. Yeah, mongoose dot connect. And then you pass in the connection string, which is going to be this. So you paste it in here, and then you bring in the dot then console log my MongoDB connected, like this. So my MongoDB connected, and save it. Then they will export this function and say to exporting means to be able to use that function outside. They say modules dot export is equal to connect db. Where is the connect db now? Connect db, and then save it. So now this is a function that connects to the database. Now this function, they will call it, instead of writing these things here, they will rather put just that function v, import it. You need to import it. To import it will be const connect db. It's coming from require. It's coming from the db /db.js, like that. So they invoke the connect db. So this is what they do sometimes, but it doesn't mean one of them is a professional way or one is the best way. No, what it simply means is they create a new file separately and put the database connection there. So if I save this and check, I should see it said my database crash. It said module. Oh, I did Mongo. So instead of module, I did module. So it's actually module, not Mongo. So I'll check it again and see that. Let me make changes here to see that it automatically restart. It crashed again. It says ConnectDB is not a function. Sorry, let me find it. Const ConnectDB. I want to see what export. Sorry, export. Yeah, so now it's connected. So it says my MongoDB is connected. So this actually, we're labeling it as an async function, and we know that the connection here is going to take a while to connect. Means sometimes if your network is slow, it will take a while to connect. And you know that when you are using, for example, any bank app, when you try to log in, you know it will take a while to load. When it's loading, that means that it's actually trying to connect to the database first, fetch your data from the database before doing anything. So that operation, sometimes it can take a millisecond, sometimes it can take 2 seconds, sometimes it can even take 30 seconds, depending on the speed of your internet. So that means that this database can either connect in a milliseconds, can either connect in 2 seconds, or even in 30 seconds, or even in 30 minutes. It can still be loading while it's trying to connect. So, and that is why we must label it an async, so it does not block any other code or any other thing we are running. So this is the 2 ways to connect to MongoDB, but this is me trying to keep it very simple so that it's straight to the point. But any which one you want, you can either use this or you decide to use it like this. It doesn't make you less of a developer. No, any one you want to use is all good. All right, so any question? If there is no question, drop a thumbs up so that we continue. Any question? We actually have a lot to cover, so I thought we used the dot then. No, I've answered that question. Any question? If there is no question, drop a thumbs up so that we continue. All right. Okay. But like I said, we are building a backend. From the connection string, explain IP address. IP address is not in the connection string. Is there IP address here? No, IP address is not. As a matter of fact, you don't even need this part to this point. You don't. Or the most important part is from this .NET till here. So there's no IP address here, but the IP address simply means where, how do I explain it now? What kind of devices and where that devices are. So some devices, a lot of us, we are not in the same place. So which means our IP addresses are not the same. We're also not using the same laptop, which means our laptop IP addresses are also not the same. We are not going to be using the same device, meaning some persons will be using a mobile app. Some are going to be using laptop, some are going to be using desktop. Even with the desktop, you have different operating systems. It can be Mac, it can be Windows, it can be Ubuntu, it can be different operating systems. So you cannot set a specific IP address, say only the person who uses this IP address should be able to connect to my database. No. If you do it that way, it means that it is only the person that has that IP address that can actually use your mobile app or maybe your software, anyone. But you set an IP address that will allow connection from anywhere. So you come to network access. I would delete this because I want to explain it again. So that is gone. Now this IP address includes my current IP address. This is my current IP address. Now it may be more than one users that are around me, maybe users that use the same device as I do, but you know that this thing here has limitation. It's not for everybody. But if you want anybody from anywhere, maybe inside the country or outside the country, to have access, you add an IP address that will say allow access from anywhere. So the IP address is noted with 0000. So that means that this will allow access from anywhere and from any device. It can be mobile app, it can be laptop, any device. So you click on it, 000, you confirm. That is it. So when it says active, it means any device can actually connect. So when you are building your backend and you hear that it is not connecting to database, it's throwing database error, the first thing you want to check is, did you allow connection from anywhere? That's the first thing you want to check. So most times you see people, most of these apps you see, a lot of them having upgrades and then going back to, you see errors, you see something hanging, something going wrong, errors, I can't make transfer. Now, depending on what you did, you should be able to tell where the error is coming from. So when you hear that the database is not connecting, of course, you should know when the database is not connecting. If users are not able to log in, if users are not able to make requests, so one person is not able to log in, or depend, or it could depend. Login has its own unique errors, so we're going to come to that. But in general, whenever the database is not connecting, the first thing you want to check is, did you allow IP address from anywhere? If you check it, the next thing you want to check is the username and password that you are using in your connection string. Is it correct? Is it the same username that is in your network access here? This user here, the username is this. It's not going to show the password, but if you don't remember the password, you can edit it and change the password. But that's the second thing you want to check. Now, if you check these two things, the third thing you want to check is your internet connection. Is it strong? If you have a weak internet connection, there's every possibility that your database will not connect. Now, one thing with MongoDB is it times out. Times out means if it's trying to connect to the internet, to the database, after a while, it will cancel. If it tries it and tries it and tries it and tries it, it will cancel. So that's what MongoDB does. So if it tries to connect and it's not able to connect, it will cancel. So these three things are the things to check out for whenever you notice that your software is not connecting to your database. The IP address, the user details, which is the username and password, and the internet connection. The three of them should what you need to check out for when you are not able to connect. Any question? Any question? If there is no question, drop a thumbs up so that we continue. Any question? Any question? Shamsuddin, Idris, Nathaniel, Rema, any question? If there's no question, drop a thumbs up so that we continue.
Yes, sir. Good evening.
Yeah, good evening. Go ahead.
Yeah, actually, I am getting this part, but my own part is still this node. I am still trying. I don't know. Maybe
The
after the
node.
class, I have a one-on-one with you.
The node. If you let's leave it to them. The course rep is also here. They will help you out too. But I don't know. Let's leave it after the class if there's time to do that.
I have asked him.
Okay, we're going to check it maybe after the class. So now the next thing you want to do is when you want to save data, you can mute. Nathaniel, you can mute. Yeah, thank you. So when you want to save data on your database, you need to have a format which you want to save data. For example, if you are building a website for a car link, people who maybe sell car or rent cars, any of them, you will know that the format for which you'll be saving cars will be different if you are building for a pharmacy. The format with which to save data for a pharmaceutical telemedicine will be different like that. This takes a while. The installation and everything is not straightforward, but you can do it if you want, but it takes a while. So you just search online to see the format. It takes a while to conclude. It takes a while. It's not that straightforward, and for every time you have to start running the machine too. But we can, if we have the time, we can try it. The easiest way is to use an already deployed version, and also if you're going to be building live project, you will also be using already deployed databases. So there's no need teaching you with offline when I know that for production you'll be using online. So we just do the online at once. That's what I just did. So, but let me back to the explaining about what I mean by format. If you want to build a website or mobile app that has to deal with cars, you know that the format with which you'll be saving data will be the car name, the car model, maybe the horsepower, the wheel drive, the color of the car, the brand, and so on and so forth. So that is the format you will use. If you're going to be building a website for a pharmacy, the format with which you'll be saving data would be the name of the drug, the company that is making it, the price of the drug, if there is any side effect too, if there is any direction that you want, directive you want to tell the users. So that is another format. If you are going to be building a website for a school, maybe a university, you'll be building, saving data in the format of the name of the student, maybe their first name, last name, their math number, their department, their faculty, and any other information you want to take from them. If you are going to be building for maybe like JAM, the format with which you'll be saving data would be the name, their state, their registration number, their score, maybe their score for each of the subjects also, and their overall score, their aggregate score. So when you are dealing with a database, you need to have a format which you want to use to save data. There must be format. You don't just save data, any type of data, random data. No, there has to be a format. The first format, the second format, all of them should match. You can't come and say the first person will register their name with first name and last name, and then the next person you are registering the name of the car and putting all of them together. No. So that is where the idea of models and the schema comes in. So what is model and what is schema? The model, I will call this maybe student model. Let's try student model. We can work with cars if you want. Student model JS here. The model here now, we are trying to model our database. So I will say const Mongoose, and like I told you before, you need Mongoose not only to connect but to also define the format which you want to use to save your data. So I'll say const schema, or let's call it student schema. Student schema is equal to new Mongoose, a new Mongoose dot schema. All right, so what am I trying to do? Mongoose, we know already that Mongoose here will help us define the format which we want to save data. So inside Mongoose, there is something called schema. The schema is the format with which that data should be saved. So we want to define the format. We want to explicitly define the format. You remember when I told you that as a backend developer, you'll be the one that is responsible to define how your data will appear. So that is what we want to do here now. The front end person is not going to be telling you the type of data to return, whether you'll be returning an array, or whether you'll be returning a string, or whether you'll be returning a number. The front end doesn't care. So where to define that is here now. The type of data you want to work with, how it should be, and what should be returned or what should be sent to you. That is what the schema is. The schema is the format with which the data you want to save on your database should be. So I'll put an object here. Since it's a student schema, I want the first name. I want their first name. And this first name should be a type of string. It should be a type of string. Comma, I want their last name. And this last name should be a type of string also. String. And then I want their age. And this age should be a type of numbers. Numbers, comma. I want their hobbies. Hobbies. Now these hobbies can also be an array of strings, but I don't want to bring it in yet. I want their email. Their email should be a type of string. And then I want their password. Their password should be a type of string. You can add their department, you can add their math number, you can add so many things that you want. Of course, there's going to be so many, but I want to work with just a few, just small, not all of them. You can add their department, the faculty, their hobbies, whatever you want to use to as information about any student. Since we are working on the student schema, you can do the same thing if it's for cars. You can do the same thing if it's for doctors. You can do the same thing if it's for pharmacy, agricultural products. Just name it, whatever software you are building. Even if it's a financial app, like fintech app, you can also define the data, how you want the data to be. So this is the format which we want to save information on our database. So we are going to define the model now. Const students is equal to new Mongoose model. Inside here, I want to call it student, and the format should be this format. All right. So what is all of these things? Let me export this first so that I start explaining. Module dot export is equal to students. So what is this? This is, I'm done with it. I know some person will be looking at it. This thing is strange. It's very strange. Yes. Somebody said, if you want to be or you want to go where you have never been before, you need to be doing things that you have never done before. So if you are seeing schema and you feel like, oh, this schema is very strange, it's looking strange, I'm saying congratulations. You are doing something you have never done before. The backend is no joke. The backend is no joke. But that doesn't mean it's difficult. No, it's not. You just need to pay attention. We have the format. I'm here to teach you the format, the procedure, what to do, how to do it, and you start building your own. So a lot of things I've been introducing to you, they will all be new and they will look strange, but that doesn't mean you should give up. No. All right, let's continue. So I am trying to define my model here. I am saying that I want to use a Mongoose model, a new Mongoose model, and the model's name should be called student for each one. Each one should be called student. And the format I want to use is called the student schema. So this student schema is an object. This student schema is an object that defines what the format should be. So here you can add so many data. You can add arrays. You can add so many data. Let me add we're going to come back to it later, but you can add so many data that you want to save. So many. So, but this is our schema. Do you have any question on this schema? I know it's looking strange, but do you have any question on this schema? So the built-in role, you select a role. Network, the built-in role, you select a role. So I said select either Atlas admin or read and write, not this one. This one, the users will not be able to do anything with this one. read and write, or Atlas admin, anyone. So that is the built-in role you should use. So any question on this schema? It's looking strange, but if there's no question, drop a thumbs up so that I then show you how we can send data directly to the database. We're almost done. We send data direct to the database and we get data from the database. So, all right, go ahead, drop a thumbs up if you don't have a question. Ask your question if you don't understand it. Nobody, drop a thumbs up if we should continue, or ask your question if you have a question. Okay, recap. So these are different lines. Now, what we are trying to do is to create a model for our database. So we are trying to say anybody who's going to be sending data to us for registration as a student, there are data we expect from you. Now, we are telling the database, this is how each document should be. For example, if you are going to be using the document, it will create the name and leave a space, create the age and leave space, create the email and leave space, create the format and leave space. So you've already defined the format, how it will look like to save data for you. So that is what we are trying to achieve here. So to do that, we need Mongoose. Mongoose will connect to the database, and also Mongoose will create a format for us. So that format is what we call the schema, and we are getting the schema from Mongoose. So to define our model down here, this is our model. We are saying our model, we are storing it inside a variable called students. And we are saying it is a new Mongoose model. It is a new Mongoose model. The name of the model should be students. And the format with the model should use is this object we created down here. So we are saying our model's name is student. The format the model should use is called the student schema, which is this object, this new Mongoose schema object inside here. And so what is inside the object? We are saying everybody should send their first name, or everybody will send their first name. And the first name will be a type of string. Everybody will send their last name, and their last name will be a type of string. Everybody will send their age, and their age will be a type of numbers, not numbers, number. Everybody will send email, and their email will be a type of string. And everybody will send password, and the password here, this is capital S. And also, you can actually state which one is required. So if I add required true, that means if you are trying to send us data, if you don't send email, the database is going to reject it, because we have created a format for the database, and we are telling the database that email is required. So if you are trying to send data to our database, it means that the database will reject it. The database will reject it. And the keyword new, literally, it means we are trying to create a new thing. Literally, we are trying to create a new thing. So that means we are trying to create a new Mongoose schema, or we are trying to create a new Mongoose model. That is what it means. But in JavaScript, new means we're trying to create a class, a model. So in JavaScript, we're trying to create a class or a model, or maybe a new object or a new array. So we're trying to create a new class. That's for JavaScript. But Literally, you're trying to create a new thing. So here it is either it's called a new Mongoose model, or here it's called a new Mongoose schema. All right. Any other questions? So like I said, you can actually define which one should be true, required. If you set required to be true, if the user doesn't send that information, the database will reject all of their information. Will reject all of them. So it will not save that data. It will throw error for all of them. That is what the required keyword does. So any other question? Any other question? Confirm password is not in your job description. Confirm password is in the job description of the front-end developer, but sometimes you might want to do it for them, but it is not your job description. You are asking them to send you one password. The user is not supposed to send you two passwords. The reason why we put or we add confirm password on the interface is so that the user would be sure that what they typed the first time is actually what they actually wanted to type. Sorry, I think that grammar is too much. That is the reason why it's confirm password. So you're using confirm password to make sure that the user knows what they are typing. So type that thing you typed before, type it again. The front-end developer is just going to run a check to check whether the first password is equal to the confirmed password. So that is what the front-end is doing. It's going to check is if confirmed password is equal to password. If they are not the same, return a message. But you can handle it if you want, but you will not be saving it to your database. But you can handle it. You know, here where we did what's it called? Where did we do that? Yeah, here you can go ahead and accept confirm password, and you run an if statement. For example, let me add it. Sorry, I can add confirm password. There is no password there, but let me add it. So you have confirm password and you have password. So you can check something like this, run and check here and say if password is not equal to confirm password. You want to return something like password do not match. So most times you are not expecting confirm password. You are not expecting it. It is the job of the front-end developer. But in other times you want to do it. You might want to do it if you want, but you will not be saving it to your database. It is only one password that you'll be saving to your database. So the confirm password is just to check whether what the person typed before, they really know what they are typing. So that is the only need for confirm password. So any other question before we continue? If there is no question, drop a thumbs up so that we continue. Any question? Drop your question. If there's no question, drop a thumbs up so that we continue. No question? If there's no question, drop a thumbs up. Okay, thank you. Thank you. All right, let's continue. Now we've been able to connect to our database. We have also created a format for the database. We want to send data to that database and save it there. And we also want to get data from the database and see it. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the real CRUD. So, let's welcome to the real CRUD. What is CRUD? CRUD is this thing we're doing here: create, read, and update. So, I'll just add addition here and call it real CRUD. The other one we're just playing. So what is the real CRUD? The first thing I want to do is to handle a post request. My endpoint, I'm going to call it, I already have register here. So let me change this to something else and use register here. So I have register, and after you register, you want to run a function. What do I want? I want to accept the request object and the response object. So inside here, I want to destructure the data that I'm expecting from the request.body. So what are those data? I'm expecting the first name. I will copy it, put it here. I'm expecting the last name. I will copy it and put it here. I'm expecting their age. I will copy it, put it here. I'm expecting their email. I will copy it and put it here. I'm expecting their password. I will copy it and put it here. So these are the informations I'm expecting. Now you may want to run validations if for the ones that are required. You might want to run validations. If not email, for example, if there is no email, you want to return a response with a status code of 400 with a JSON message that will say, please add your email. All right, now there could be other validations you want to do, maybe also validate the password. You go ahead and do that, but I don't want to crowd this place. I want to keep it as simple as possible. So after this, the next thing I want to do is create a user. So I'll say const new user is going to be new students. So this student now is coming from my model. So what I mean by this here, you see, this is model. If you look at it, is the model. This thing here is the model. So this is me communicating directly to the database. I want to take this information and create a new user on the database, but it should follow the format of the model. So that is why I'm bringing this new student. So this student you see here now is this student that I'm exporting here. That is it. Module.export. This student I'm exporting here. So when I type students, I'm actually talking about students in the model, this model. So here, I will then pass in all of this information into the model. And then I will call await. But I cannot use await. But let's try. New user dot save. So this is me trying to save, but I cannot use await. Now, trying to save data on a database can take a while. The first time it will try to connect to the database, and then it will try to run the data through the database to see that that data follows the format, and then it will save it. So because all of this might take a while, this function will label it async. And that's it. So you save the data and you return a response. Shikina response.status 200, it was successful. .json, pass in an object. The object will have a message that will say user registration successful, and you return the user to be the new user that was saved. And that's all. So with this now, we are taking data from the request body. We run a simple validation, make sure that there is. Then we try to create a user on the database using the we created. So we run it through model. So we're trying to create a new student, but we make sure that it follows that model that we create, and then we save the user, we save the information on the database, and then we return a response like that. So I will save this and try it whether MongoDB is going to save this data for us directly on the database. So I have where is that register? Register somewhere. You know what? Let me create one. I'll create a new one. The request type is post. The endpoint is register. I'll copy it. And my server port is 7000. So I will go to localhost port 7000/register. In the body, I should attach the data I want to send as a raw JSON. So what are the informations I want to send? They are these information. So I will copy it and paste it here. Okay, here. All right, then beautify it. So my first name is David. My last name is Samson. Age 40. Email david@gmail.com. Password is 12345678910. So I have this information and I want to send them to my database. I'll send it and it crashed. So why did it crash? It says the error is student is not defined. Student is not defined. So that means I'm not exporting it very well. Module.export is equal to, so this is not exporting very well. That is the issue now. Let me see. Oh, I did not import it. But I thought I did. So where is this one coming from? Yeah, now it's been imported. So save it and see that it's running. Yeah, it's running. Then send the request again. Now I have data. So this is coming from the database. I know because automatically it has created an ID for it. So if I make this any longer, like let me shift this one to this side. So you see that it is coming with underscore ID like this. So this means that this user has been created on the database. Now, notice that the ID ends with BC6. BC6. So if I send this request again, it will create another user, but it's ending with BC8. So I will try and send again. It's ending with BCA. If I send it again, it's ending with BCC. So it is creating ID for every single time. The data will be coming from front end. If it's from front end, it means the front end developer will create a form. And I'm sure we've done this before. There's going to be a form, either a login form or a registration form or any form at all. So the users will be typing the data into the form and they will click send. That is how they send data. The users are not going to be using Postman. No, they will not. You, the backend developer, you are using Postman to test your API. But the users will be filling a form either on the mobile app or on the website, and they will send. And that's how the data is being sent to your backend. What did I use to correct the import? I did not correct the import. Now you can type manually if you want. But what I did was to hold Control Command, put it here, hold Control Command, and it will bring it out. That is auto import. But if you are typing it, it will show. Once it's showing that, let me show you what I mean. If I remove it now, it's gone. And then I remove this part, it's gone. So if I start typing the model name again, you see it is showing me this model and it says it's coming from the student model. So if I click on it, that is auto import. It has automatically imported when I click on it. So if you start typing the name, it will show you, and if it shows you, you can then tap on it. That will be auto import. So I use auto import to correct the import. All right, so but one thing we want to change is we don't want users that have created accounts to create account again. No, we don't. We don't want users that have created accounts to create accounts again. No, we don't. So what do? The moment we confirm that they have sent us an email, we are going to use that email to find whether anybody has registered with that email. If they have not, then it will continue the registration. But if they have, it will tell them that this account already exists. So the first thing you want to do is to confirm that they have actually sent you email. And then you come and say const already existing. You can call the variable anything. You can call it already existing. You can call it user. You can call it anything. No, this is not existing. Already existing is equal to await. Go to the students database dot find one. So go to the students database and find one. You want to find them by the email. So you want to find somebody on the student database by that email. So run through all the data that are saved on that database. Anyone that matches this email, return it and save it to this already existing. So what I want to now do is say if already existing. So that means if there is something already existing, I want you to return a response with a status code of 400 and then a JSON message that would say this user already exists, like that. So with this now, if I use an email that has already been used before, it will try to use that email and search or find on the database to see whether anybody has created an account with that database. If they have, it will return it and save it inside this variable. Now what I'm doing here is running a check if anything has been saved into this variable. Now automatic by default, this variable should be empty. By default, it should be empty. But if it finds something and saves it here, then that means this variable is not going to be empty again. So I am checking if this variable is not empty. Now, the opposite of that will be if not. So which means if there is nothing in it. But right now, we are checking if there is something in it. If there is something in it, then return that this user account already exists. So if I save it and try to send this request again with the same details, send, it says this user already exists. But if I change the email by adding 1 and send the request, it will return a user. If I send the request again, it will say this user already exists. If I change the email to 2 and send the request, it will return a user. But if I send the request again, it says this user already exists. So that is one. We've been able to do the create, which is to recreate data on the database. So let's do the read. To read data that is already on the database. To read data that is already on the database. So I will come here and create a GET request, because the read is a GET request. Get student, get students. So here I will handle the request, I'll handle the response, and I will say, what do I want to do? I want to say const student, not numbers. Number, I changed mine. I later saw it that I wrote numbers. It's number. So not numbers, but number. So what I want is students, or let me say all students is the name of the variable. Await, go to the students database dot find. So this await must be used in an async function dot find. So here I want to say when you find it, return a response with the status code of 200 and .json with a message of you know what, let me just put another line here, message that says successful, supposed to be a string, and then return all students. So here is another API that will fetch me the details of all the students. What is it doing? The API name or the endpoint is students. It will go to the students database and find. So when you call .find means find all of them. Whereas find one means you are searching for only one. But .find means you want to find all of them. So you find all of the students that are on the student database and store them inside this array of students, and then return a response. So if I save this and try to make a request to this endpoint, which will be change this request to, yeah, it's a GET request, and to be localhost and here. So I'm not sending any data. If I click send, now you see I have a list of arrays. I can actually modify this to say, let me return a count. In addition to this, return a count. The count should be all students dot length. So I want to know how many students were returned dot length. All students dot length. So if I send this request again, I have it returning the count of 6. That means it's returning the details of 6 different students. 6 different students. So ladies and gentlemen, I know we've actually exceeded our time, but do you have any question so far? Now I have a repo that I like sharing, but it's an old repo and it's on my GitHub. It will show you. I used to use that repo. I think I call it RESTful API. Yeah, RESTful API CRUD. No, not that one. Is it that one? RESTful API. I don't think it's this one. Let me go back and find RESTful API basic here. Yeah, and if I come to src and I come to index file, no, it's inside my controller. So here, this is for product. I'm building for product, and I know you may not be able to see it, but let's zoom in very well. All right. So in order to round up, I'm trying to just show you this. If we can read it together. So here is to get all products, and the function is an async function. Okay, this is a little bit advanced. You know what? I will come back to it later. It's a little bit advanced. I'll come back to it later. So, but ladies and gentlemen, we've been able to do something today. We've connected to database. We've created a format. We've actually made a post request, and we've made a get request. So looking at these things, these are get request. Our get request. And here, no, sorry. These are get request. And then here is our post request. So looking at it, do you have any question? Or do you have any question before we call it today? Wait. Yes, that is why I said it's a little bit advanced. We're going to treat try catch in our next class. Try catch. So try catch is a case where so yeah, if I go to my database here, click on my cluster. Yep. Click on cluster and click browse the collection. You know, collection is a group of documents. So cluster, and here it is showing me the students database I created. It's called students, and you see that it's actually a total of 6 people. So it's showing 1 to 6. So this is the first person. This is their first document. Then this is the second person. Now it's the same name, but they are different persons. Then this is another person. This is another person. So this is where I started changing email. At this point, I wasn't changing email, but here, and I think you're not going to be seeing it very well. Let me see if I can zoom in. No, if I zoom in too much, you'll not even see it. Yeah, you will not. So, but it's actually showing here on the database, but it will be very, very small for you to see like that. And should I copy all of them? Yeah, I've been able to copy all, and I can share it with you too. Yeah, so this is the data of everybody on the database like that. All right, now in our next class, we're going to take it a little bit further, but I think we've actually introduced a complete backend. We have. Now we are saving data directly to the database, and we are finding or reading data directly from the database. No. We're not using SQL to query the database. We're using Mongoose to query a database. But if you want to, you can try it out with SQL. I think the free SQL, you can try it with SQL and work it out. What is the role of this server again? Ayodeji. If not that I like the name Ayomi, I would have been wondering. So what is the role of the database, of the server again? If I cancel this server with Control C, it's cancelled now. And I go ahead to make this GET request, it is crashing. So the server has to be running for any request to happen at all. So for anything to happen on the back end, the server has to be running. If it's not running, the server is down. So if for any reason, if your server is down, the backend will not be responding. So the server is responsible for keeping the whole back end running 24 hours in a week, 7 days in a week. 24 hours a day, 7 days in a week. So that is the work of the server. If you cancel the server, for any reason the server goes down, the whole backend will not respond again. But if the server is still running, the backend will be responding. It will be telling you when you are doing the right thing, or maybe when you are doing the wrong thing, or maybe when your MongoDB is not connected. It will just be giving you feedback. You'll be seeing it. But if the server goes down for any reason, the backend will not respond again and again until the server comes up again. So that is the role of the server in all of this. So any other question before we call it a day? As a matter of fact, I think I should also push this to GitHub. Now this is the same code, git add dot, git commit, and then git push. So this is the same repo I've been sharing with you. It's not a new one. It's the same. Where is it? Where is it? This same one. Copy it and try it here. Yep. And if I go to DB, you'll see my DB here. You see my index file here. And down here, you should see my GET request here. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is where we want to call it a day. So any question? Any question before we call it a day? Okay, go ahead. You can use the mic if your question is something you can't explain. You can use the mic. I just hope that we'll not have people coming back to tell me I want to learn this thing again. Because we've been waiting for people. I only have 16 persons here. The videos, is there a way it can be clearer? Yeah, the videos, are they not clearer? They are clearer, but the truth is there will be no perfect way you will see these things. There will be no perfect way. No perfect way. So however you see it, however it comes, you just take it like that. But the most important thing is if you are seeing what you want. Now it is a different thing when you are not seeing at all. Then it's okay, the video is bad. But if it's not clearer, that is why I'm sending you the codes. You get to see the codes and you can be listening to the voice. So if the codes on the video are not very clear, you can be listening to the code, the voice, and also be going through your own code base. Stanley, that depends. The backend developer can decide to say everybody who is creating a password must add uppercases, must add special characters. Yeah, the backend can decide that. And we're going to see how to do that in our subsequent classes. But you can also decide not to. But in order for password to be secured, it is your job. Although they are going to assign, it depends on if the company is going to hire a cybersecurity person. But if they are not going to hire a cybersecurity person, it is now your job to make sure that user password that are created are going to be very secure. Now, this password, let me just restart the server. This password you are seeing here, this is not good. The password are not supposed to be seen. So, but because we are just doing simple CRUD, that is why we are just leaving the password like that. When we get to authentication, we are going to hash this password so that even if you hack into our database, you will not see what the user passwords are. So all those sensitive information, it is your job as a backend developer to protect them. But if they hire a cybersecurity person will do a research and tell you how best to protect them and so on and so forth. But if they don't hire a cybersecurity expert, it is your job as a backend developer to protect them. Yes, hello? Are you with us, Karim? Are you with us? I could hear you, but I don't understand what you are saying. All right, so like I said, when we get to authentication, we are going to hash this password. If you are going to be using users NIN, you will hash it. If you are going to be doing anything with their BVN, you will hash it. All their sensitive data, you will hash it like that. So any other question before we call it a day? It's actually 15 minutes past. So if you're okay to end the class here, you can drop a thumbs up so that we end the class. All right. All right. But please study the code base. That is why I am sharing it. Study. Okay. Yeah. Sorry, Idris, we are still on the call, so you can actually go ahead since we are still on the call. Idris, for those who are actually done, you can drop now. So Idris, can you share your screen? I'll stop
Okay.
and then